There you go. You got a mask. I got a mask. That's how it is, man.
Yeah, so much for saving the apple for tomorrow. It looks like my kid had an apple and ate it today.
I
Just
mean, I
had to
guess
make
that
sure
works.
that the stream's working properly, but then we're good because I already hit start streaming. Just gotta look at it. I hit the button. Now I just gotta make sure it's actually happening.
I can do that.
Let's see this.
Well, you're not streaming yet, so
Well, I did hit start streaming. I wonder where I'm streaming on.
well, you're not on stream. So I'm looking at your stream from
Did you
8 days
look on
ago.
Twitch?
Yes.
I'm not on Twitch. I told you I'm doing it on YouTube.
Uh, what's your YouTube?
Story from the Deadlands.
Because I just told everybody in my channel that I was streaming with you on your Twitch channel.
Well, we're definitely streaming. There we go. We're streaming. It's working. Oh man, I don't know how much of a delay it's gonna have, but it's working.
Well,
It is.
does it really matter?
No, not for
Uh,
us. Well,
Hey, well,
kind of matters.
it will make zero
chat-wise,
difference
but
for us, but
yeah, it'll make zero. It's more for
I
chat.
was
Like if they chat something and then 10 minutes later it pops up, it's like, oh, you said something a while ago. So I guess it's time for introductions again, because it's been a minute for sure.
I mean, I can't say I've ever streamed with you on YouTube, so
Well, you can stream on Twitch. You would stream on Twitch. I would stream on YouTube.
oh, is that really how we did it before? 'Cause I don't remember streaming your podcast at all.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't even remember you streaming the podcast. Period.
No, I sure didn't. At least not that
So
I remember.
yeah, you've
No, I
never
don't think
have.
it
Wait, what? What is that? Where's the?
So no, you've never streamed the podcast with me. But if you wanted to, you would do it on Twitch with yours, and mine would be on YouTube. The only reason I want to try this out is because it goes straight to the channel, and then I can just like download it, cut up whatever I need to cut up, and re-upload.
Yeah, there you are.
Which and apparently it's easier to find me on YouTube. I'm not 100% sure.
So how do I watch you as you're streaming this?
Here I'll send you the link.
It's not showing.
It's showing to me. On the channel you have to hit live. Yeah, it should show. But here, I'll just share it to you.
It is not.
Huh?
It is not.
Please not. What?
It is not showing me on your channel that you are streaming on YouTube.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna send it to you.
I'll be really uber super specific.
It's Stories of the Deadlands, right?
Yes.
Is that a different channel than your main one?
My regular one, yeah. So I have a podcast channel. I have my main channel where I upload my videos. And
from Stories from the Deadlands. Tales.
Oh yeah, it's streaming.
Yep.
You did send me this link. Tales.
Oh yeah, it's streaming. It's definitely delayed.
There. I pasted it.
Pasted it where?
On the Discord.
Which one? In what channel and who's where?
Okay, you know what? You
under
make
announcements.
So
Thank you.
What
channel there. And I should change it from that ancestry part.
Yeah. Why are we looking at ancestry?
PBS.
Okay, there you go. We're looking at PBS. Okay, it's not ancestry.
Oh. I'm gonna take this. Cool as it is.
I'm actually gonna probably have to take off my.
Well, I have to take it off because I'm about to eat a taco. So, this doesn't have anything to do with the stream itself. Like,
Hold on.
see,
I'm gonna
hear,
take my
talk.
thing. It's hot. It's starting to get hot.
What?
I'm stripping.
Oh, like you started to get hot at your house, dude.
Oh,
Gotcha.
Okay, that's better.
Hey, where's the live?
Huh?
I'm trying to get it to look at me live here, so.
Oh. Alright. So I guess introductions again, for the most part. Whoever starts. So I think Beltane starts.
Okay. I am the Beltane Fox. I am by far the oldest member of our cast. Other than that, I've got a pretty good background in the whole ghost hunting thing, so that's about all you need to know about me right now.
I don't have a lot on ghost hunting background. I got like 2 investigations and that's all I got. But I'm Toby, your host, as always. How's everybody doing? We're back. Took forever. But, yeah.
And I don't have any ghost hunting background. It's mostly because I don't leave my house. So, I'm Simple Causality. You can find me on Twitch playing some games here and there. I'm just kind of here. I'm just kind of the counterpoint to their knowledgeable sides. So. What are you changing my stuff for?
I'm changing my stuff.
It sure is showing up on my side on the corner. Every time you change something on there, it pops up on my camera screen because that's where it is.
Oh.
It's on the left of Beltane's, on the top left of yours, and on the right corner of mine.
Yeah, mine are all switched. Oh, say hi, buddy. Say hi.
He's like, nah. It's like, nah, I don't feel like
Well,
it.
you can't see your face because you're in, there. You go.
Hold on, let me get your shoes off, kiddo.
Ah, look, paranormal.
Yeah, just randomly.
I guess it's maybe that way. Ah, look.
But,
Yeah.
So today we're gonna be talking.
Look.
Joining us now or later. We're gonna be talking about black-eyed children. He's got a smile on his face. The light is coming from one direction, so when he stands, it shadows my face. But we'll be talking about some black-eyed children. I haven't done too much research on it like I should have, but I got my trusty laptop right over here, so while we do this, I'll be doing some research on it as well. I got a couple videos. Beltane will be the one to start us off. Well, I don't know. You okay starting us off with the black-eyed children stuff?
You just want some background on them?
What you know about them, what you've heard about them. I'm gonna slowly get
Well,
my top coming up. On that.
I believe the earliest known report of them was like 1986, and they've been around for a while. There are stories coming up that there are older reports of them, but I haven't read any of those. The oldest I've read was like 1986. Don't remember the guy's name. Yeah. They become a lot more pronounced into the 2020s. Um, but basically, yeah, you could be in your car or you could be in your home, one of the two. And if you're in your car, these kids will come up and they'll knock on your door, and it's always two. Sometimes it's a boy and a girl, sometimes it's two boys, but they're younger
Mostly
teenage.
twos.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
the younger teenage um, ages, whatever. Um, they're usually wearing black hoodies, and they always have their heads down when they're originally talking to the people. And like one of the stories, there was a knock at the guy's door, and the guy went and he got this feeling of dread. And that's one of the things that I've heard on stories is that the people will have a feeling of dread before they open the door. And at some point during the conversation, whether they've opened the door or not, they will suddenly realize that these kids have completely black eyes. And it's not just the eyeball or the colored part of your eye, it's the entire thing.
Everything,
There's
yeah.
no, everything's black. Um, there was one story about an older lady who actually let them in, and like her husband died and she got really sick and all of this kind of stuff. But similar to the vampire legend, they apparently need your permission to come into your car or into your house.
So
Um,
that would be opening like the door and stuff like that for them.
yeah,
Sounds like
well,
vampires.
yeah.
Sounds like
Well, they will ask you to let them in. And in some of the reports, they say we can't come in unless you allow us to come in, and some of the reports say that, you start uh, like reaching down to open the door, even though you don't want to, and you'll catch yourself doing it. So there's some kind of like a hypnotic type thing that they are able to do to people to try and get them to do what they want. Um, but yeah, the whole subject, when I first heard about it, scared the shit out of me. I, you know, it was like I told the entire family if some young kid knocks at the door during the night, and it's always during the night, it's never during the day. Um,
it's like I'm
I'm
checking
like,
out.
yeah, do not open that door.
So I've the accounts of black eyed children I've only ever heard. I've only seen like two of them, and they were mostly just like on like YouTube and stuff. So I actually have not. So that's where my knowledge as far as the black eyed children go is just a couple videos of somebody like, oh, this weird child came up to my door and rang the doorbell and the eyes were all black, and stuff like that. So some of that I kind of knew, but that's as far like again that's as far as my knowledge goes for something like that.
Well, and I have had one experience, and it was not a child, it was an adult.
Oh
And
dang.
I did a bunch of scouring on the net to find out, has anybody else had an experience with an adult? And that is something that is starting to become prevalent as well. My experience happened during the day, and um, I was riding with my father. We were going to the local leaf dump, and as we were passing, it's a T street. As we were passing there, I saw this lady who was coming up to the corner and she was walking a small dog. And the dog was moving, but its legs weren't moving. It was really kind of
What?
weird. Yeah, it looked like a real dog, but the legs weren't moving, the head wasn't moving. It was just like stationary. And
So
she walked
balloon
up to
animal.
yeah, she walked
Yeah, I
up
was
to the
gonna say.
corner, and I looked over and looked her straight in the face, and she looked at me, and there, it was completely black irises, and it was like, whoa, what the hell? And she looked pissed, like, you can't see me right now. How dare you? Is kind of the feeling that I got from it. But
Oh damn.
there have been other people that have reported stories of a black-eyed adult. And one of the stories I recently read, the people had let the kids into their house, and they said they had to use the restroom, and both of them went into the restroom. And they came out of the restroom and they said, our parents are here. And they went out the front door. And this person went and looked out the front door and saw two adults that were like in all black, and they had real pale skin. And the kids went to them and they walked away. They didn't get in a car or anything, they just walked away.
Oh wow.
So I don't know exactly what it is that I saw, except for
Mhm.
she totally had black eyes and she looked pissed.
Interesting. Yeah, I've never heard of the. You sure that was just a demon you ran into?
Right. First they're walking dogs, then they will be driving cars. Then
Right.
then we're just in trouble. Like
No, but
as soon as
that's
they figure out
wild.
machinery, man, like
That is so wild that that's what happened. And then the fact that the black-eyed children are like, oh, our parents are here, and then they just walked out.
Yeah, they didn't say anything. They didn't shut the door behind them or anything. They just walked out the front door, went down to where the sidewalk was, met with the people, and they all turned and went.
Damn, that's wild. So I pulled up a little article on here. It says stories of black-eyed children have been around for some time. Supposedly, these are ghosts of children who appear to be solid-looking and dressed a little old-fashioned. But the giveaway feature are their eyes. They're black, no irises, no whites. Reports of black-eyed children are worldwide, and unsurprisingly, the internet has helped fuel interest in sightings. Some question are they true, and then we may never know for sure, but here are 3 encounters that might pique your curiosity. So these are what it looks like. I'm only gonna be able to read like part of a story because it's asking me to sign in, and I don't want
Yeah.
to sign in. But let's see. So this is from a senior staff person. Brian Bethel is a senior staff reporter at Abilene News in Texas. He's not given to. Let's see here. One evening in 1995, Brian popped down to his local branch of Camelot to pay his bills. He intended to leave a check in their night slot. While he was sitting in his car writing the check in the light spilling from the foyer of the nearby Westwood Theater, there was a firm knock on the window. 2 children stood there, boys between 9 and 12 years old. So, like you were saying, they come in twos and they knock on people's door. Give me a second. I'm gonna put something down. Yeah, this thing doesn't have.
is it your
wheels.
kid?
No. My big speaker where I'm playing music to, just lowering the volume so I don't hear it, but everybody else can hear it in the background.
I was gonna say I can hear it through your mic if that's what you were playing it from.
Yeah, no, I was,
speaker.
yeah. So I'm just lowering it, but so it was 2 kids between the ages of 9 and 12. Brian opened the window a little, and the nearest child asked if they could get a ride back to their moms. They'd come to see a movie, Mortal Kombat, but had left their money home. Suspicious. Hi. Mwah. Love you. Brian opened the window a little, and the nearest child asked if they could get a ride back. I just reread that. He said he felt a wave of inexplicable fear wash over him. In his interview, he said that his visceral reaction made little sense even in the moment. Why would a grown man feel fear at the sight of 2 little kids? It was as though his rational mind was quietly observing his body enter stress reaction. He describes his increasing fear. It felt like I felt like I was being haunted, as if I was prey or animal. And then the story stops because I have to sign up. But that's wild. That's something. So it comes in 2s. So that story that you started saying, about them coming in 2s, and the first story read is that one. So I do have a video here that I'm gonna post, or that Beltane posted here. I feel so out of place, or not out of place, so unprepared again. So let's play the video, and
Well, that's because you're unprepared.
I'm prepared, semi-prepared. So I'm gonna play the video here.
Right.
You're relaxing at home when there's a knock on the door. You peer through the peephole and see a small child with their hoodie obscuring their face. You open your door and ask if they need help, but when they look up, you are staring into black, lifeless eyes. It's not hard to figure out why these creatures horrify us so much. It's in their name. Black-eyed children, or black-eyed kids, also known as BEK, are modern monsters whose ears...
You guys can't?
No, you're putting your volume through your speaker, not through your computer.
It doesn't matter. You should still be able to hear it here. No, it's going through my headphones where everybody else can. Let's see.
I can hear it on Discord, but
I can't. Oh, because I'm not in the stream. That's probably why.
Well, the volume is probably
yeah,
low
if you
too.
open the stream up, it'll play. So
Yeah, I heard it playing through somebody's speaker, not the actual stream. So, which I have fixed.
You got it? Okay. Is it too low for it, or what?
you could probably turn it up a little bit.
Alright.
eerie and unnatural appearance and behavior inspire fear. The unusual eyes are unnerving, but it's the age of these monsters that really
That's
amps
louder
up the
than
terror.
I thought it was.
What is it about evil children that freaks us out so much?
My
Dr.
streaming
Emily
volume
Zimmerman,
of anything
and
is
this is
at
Monster.
200%. So
The first report of a black-eyed kid appeared in 1998. Texan reporter Brian Bethel wrote of an experience he had 2 years prior while he was sitting in his car near a movie theater. Bethel claimed that his car was approached by 2 boys around the ages of 9 and
this is
12
that
wearing
story.
hooded
Story,
sweatshirts.
right, yeah.
One appeared as an
Story.
olive-skinned, curly-headed young man,
Yeah, I
and the
guess
other
I
a
was,
red-headed, pale-skinned, freckled young
little
man.
early.
Bethel
when
opened the
I was
window a
in
crack, and the
68.
2 boys asked for a ride to their mother's house to pick up some money so they could see the Mortal Kombat movie. To this day, Bethel recalls that when the second one of the boys spoke, he felt an unnatural sense of dread. He pointed out the movie had already started and they wouldn't make it back in time. But the boys began to push harder, saying things like they were just 2 kids and that they didn't have a gun or anything. Bethel describes their voices as mechanical and rehearsed. The strange experience culminated in terror when he realized each boy had black eyes, soulless orbs, with no white showing at all. Understandably unnerved, he began to drive away, but one of the boys banged on his window and angrily cried, "We can't come in unless you tell us it's okay. Let us in." Bethel sped off, and upon checking his rearview mirror, he noted that the strange black-eyed children had completely vanished. In 2013, Bethel wrote that his strange experience with these children was originally shared in a private communication with a small group of friends on an email list that then was leaked onto the internet. I couldn't find any evidence of this original document, but Bethel's story is undoubtedly the foundation of all BEK lore, and that's how an urban legend is born. In eyewitness accounts and other stories, the childlike creatures are frequently wearing hooded clothing, although some versions claim they are dressed in antiquated outfits. They have odd speech patterns, black eyes, and perhaps most importantly, they just don't act in a way we think children should. Similar to some vampire legends, it appears that they must be invited into a private space, and to me, this creepiness evokes fairy, demon, and changeling vibes. Though encounters tend to end without lasting effects, some people who've had run-ins with these creatures report nightmares and agoraphobia. Through the numerous interviews Bethel conducted as his story circulated online, others across the world began to speak up about their own supposed experiences with other black-eyed children. England in particular seems plagued by black-eyed children, and they often serve as fodder for tabloid magazines and newspapers. Like in 2014, when songwriter and paranormal investigator Lee Brickley was interviewed by the Birmingham Mail about the sighting in Cannock Chase, England. The sensational story was quickly picked up by the British and international press. Brickley had been investigating rumored sightings of a black-eyed ghost in Cannock Chase, including one where a woman and her daughter were out for a walk when they heard screams and spotted a child wandering alone. The mother ran to catch up but could not find the child. When she turned back around, a girl appearing to be 10 years old stood there with her hands over her eyes. She asked, "Are you okay? Were you screaming?" The girl just dropped her hands and revealed eyes the woman said were completely black, no iris, no white. Startled, the woman grabbed her daughter and jumped back. When she looked up, expecting to see the child, she'd vanished. Interestingly, Brickley also claims that the same girl, whom he calls a ghost, had been seen 30 years earlier in 1982 in that same area by his own aunt, something he wrote about in his 2013 book, UFOs, Werewolves, and the Pigman. Brickley claims that his aunt heard a child crying at night, and following the sobs, she came upon a girl about 6 years old who looked up at her with completely black eyes before racing off into the woods. Even a police search for the child turned up nothing. The sightings of the singular female BEK in Cannock Chase may be connected to a real-life tragedy that influenced Brickley's identification of the creature as a ghost. Cannock Chase made headlines in the 1960s as the site of one of the largest police investigations in British history, the search for the murderer of 3 local schoolgirls. Some say the black-eyed child of that area is the ghost of one of the girls, and it would make sense that a young female resident who grew up with those stories would believe that she had seen something even if it wasn't there. As the urban legend of the black-eyed children evolved out of references to eyewitness accounts of the monsters in the British and American press, their presence across media of all kinds exploded. Numerous YouTube videos claim to show evidence that such creatures exist. The BEK also gained notoriety and lore expansion through crowd-funded fan fiction texts and productions like Sunshine Girl and The Hunt for Black-Eyed Kids, The Black-Eyed Children, and Black-Eyed Children Let Me In. The comic series BEK expands the monster's threat with the invention of a violent origin story, where regular children turn into black-eyed kids if they murder their family. BEK are such great modern folklore because they defy romanticized notions of childhood and the inherent goodness of children, ideas that have evolved over time. The perception of children as innocent and weak, requiring constant adult instruction both morally and physically, is a relatively modern invention. Prior to the Romantic period, children were largely socially insignificant. They were background characters, relegated to chores, familial duties, and little else. But with the progression of the industrial age in the late 18th century, as infant mortality declined and literature and philosophy regarding child education grew, alongside increased scrutiny around child labor, the cultural concept of the child changed. Childhood became a sacred cultural symbol, a time of perceived innocence and happiness when children were not valued for their usefulness or economic viability, but rather for their hopeful possibility and vulnerability. This view of childhood continued to progress and evolve well into the 20th century, when the seismic social shifts following World War II changed everything. Suddenly, youth culture and scrutiny of popular media's influence on children became hot topics, and 1950s pop culture was flooded with movies and literature showing bad kids and juvenile delinquents. Around this time, the theme of children being born evil became a prevalent one, as we were introduced to ever younger characters with genetically inherited threatening characteristics, like a desire to kill and mind control. Then, through the 1970s and all the way into the 90s, we see a spike in horror texts with children possessed by demons or some other kind of evil entity. They're even portrayed as the literal offspring of Satan or the devil himself. The rise of the child villain can be framed in countless ways, including an emerging fear of youth culture stemming from a movement away from traditional conservative ideas by younger generations. Others argue it's a manifestation of Freud's Oedipus complex, where it is the id, the instinctual, unconscious part of the mind of the child that wants to murder the parent. Or Peter Pan syndrome, which locates the child's desire to kill in an attempt to reject their own future as an adult. And sure, as a generalized explanation for the increase in fictional accounts of terrifying children, these all make sense. But none of that really explains the other key feature besides age that makes the black-eyed children scary: those black eyes. The eyes are the window to the soul is a familiar saying. We communicate with our eyes, and they serve vital survival and social functions. So when they appear unnaturally obscured, we become uncomfortable, even scared. Scientific research does show that we tend to track the eye movements of others as an evolutionary social mechanism. Perhaps the inability to follow the gaze of the BEK is what adds to their eeriness and the danger they threaten. They could be looking anywhere or nowhere. Unfortunately, this concept was at one point taken to the extreme with a practice called physiognomy, which is predicated on the idea that one's facial features and eyes could be read as a natural language that would reveal insight about a person's character, or supposedly an indication of their ethnic origins. Needless to say, there was a lot of bigotry and racism in the practice. Although its roots date back to ancient Chinese, Japanese, and Mesopotamian traditions, the practice held prominent.
Real quick, I was looking at some other stuff. It says that they sometimes don't look threatening, and they would want to get in your house or your car. So it basically, they basically look like regular children. The only difference is like they have the black eyes, and it's lid to lid, like from it's their whole eye. And like she said, it started as an urban legend, and of paranormal creatures that resemble children. So yeah, I'm looking some more stuff onto it, and I'm curious on how it would correlate with like shadow people, because I guess like you were saying, there's adults too. Like, what if we can see the black-eyed children, but sometimes the adults just we see them as like shadow people, but they could be like the parent kind of thing, you know, if you see both of them. But like you said, you saw one in person, like you saw
I saw.
And then
Yep.
The other story of the person who the black-eyed children said, "Oh, our parents are here," walked out the door, and there were two adults, and they just walked away. So I'm wondering if there's even any correlation to that.
Prominent intellectual weight in Europe until the 18th century. Unsurprisingly, the eyes were the most important feature to interpret. According to a late 15th century text, eyes with no whites visible were manifestations of unreliability in a person. There is also a larger cultural history of dark eyes or black eyes being tied to inherent evilness or an inner darkness, including many racist depictions of non-white individuals in literature, including children. Dark or black eyes are also featured in evocations of possession and demonic presence, and often symbolize a lack of control. To me, black-eyed children are the, excuse the pun, offspring of four main threads. 1, our natural wariness of an obscured or unusual gaze. 2, intergenerational conflict. 3. The legacy of malevolent children in horror films. And 4. The ease of which the internet reinforces urban legends.
Yeah.
The power of the internet to expand the reach of these creatures cannot be overstated. Historically, folklore and folk tradition have been passed on through generations by word of mouth and could even take years to spread from one country or continent to the other. But in modern times, the World Wide Web functions as a global town square, the electronic equivalent of sharing stories by the fire. I know that personally, thanks to a combination of The Children of the Corn and the French film Them, I am terrified of trick-or-treaters, which, yes, makes me somewhat of a Halloween Grinch, but it also helps me understand why stories of BEK continue to circulate. Obviously, we know that my fear of trick-or-treaters is large.
Yeah. Well, we don't care about the trick-or-treating. I do have the other video, Chilling Evidence of Shadow People, but that one, we'll get a little more on the black-eyed kids, and then we'll go to the shadow people. Cause what are your thoughts? You think there's any correlation between the two, or?
Honestly, I don't think there is. Shadow people are a completely different phenomenon, because basically it's like a silhouette of a person. Where a black-eyed kid is a physical manifestation of a person.
Yeah, a lot, especially, fair enough, and a lot of the things, like, reading up on it does say physical like, they're physical. Jesus. Some people think that they're ghosts, other things that they're demons, you know, but it's still something more physical than what you would call like a ghost, basically. Like no one knows where they pop up from. There's a bunch of conspiracy theories on them. Some people believe that black-eyed children are aliens trying to reach out to their Earth. And then and then some demonologists believe they are children of the devil himself, and if you let them in, you're allowing the devil to enter your life. That one might be a little bit far-stretched, but I mean, considering that a lot of people do correlate like black eyes or red eyes with demons and stuff like that. So, another one is they want to enter your home, call their parents, however, if you let them in, you're allowing the devil in your life. They want to enter your home to call their parents. However, upon making eye contact, it seems like there is a much sinister plot. But granted, what she said is like looking at people in the eyes. It's kind of like a scary thing already. So imagine it's like, and
Well, I don't know about a scary thing, but
well, some people
looking directly into somebody's eyes might give you like social anxiety or something, but the fact that the black-eyed children don't have eyes is probably just an extreme version of that, is what it sounds like.
Yup.
The interesting thing, though, is that it's not like a missing eye, because it's just completely black. Like there's not two holes in their head.
Right.
I think that would be even more frightening if it was, kids with no eyes at all and just gaping holes in their head.
Yeah, I think that would be a lot scarier than. So, first of all, when you see a child, at least a lot of people's instinct, like they're alone or where your parents kind of thing, they kind of get worried about it. So it's like it's more like a worry thing, and then when you go to approach them, and then they look at you in the eyes, and all you're seeing is black, you're like, yep, I'm checking out. But if it were like just holes, I think that we'd hear a lot more about them. To be honest, I think if it was like more like holes than anything else, we'd be definitely having a lot more stories about this than we do now.
Oh, there's tons of stories out there. As you start to look into it, you're going to find a ton of stories.
Well, I'm seeing one
Oh,
here. I think it's the one of kind of what you said, of the one that the people invited the kids in and the parent stuff. I think I have part of the story here. But you were gonna say something?
oh, so the other difference between Shadow People and the Black Eyed Kids is that when a Black Eyed Kid is present, there is a feeling of dread, where when a shadow person is present, there's not always a feeling of dread.
Sometimes
So,
you don't even know that they're there.
yeah.
Well, yeah, they're
Cause
shadows.
well, sometimes you can see them like in your peripheral and stuff like that. Um, so okay, I got the story here. One of the stories in the snowy town within the middle of nowhere of Vermont, an elderly couple heard the sound of 3 loud knocks on their door. They opened the door and saw two children, a boy and a girl. Uh, Parents will quote. This is like the kids talking. Parents will be here soon. May we come in? The children did not make eye contact and just stood there in the doorway. The elderly couple were hesitant, but after a while, they let the boy and the girl inside. The kids settled on the couch while the wife made some hot cocoa, and the husband asked them questions that went unanswered. The wife returned and noticed that her cat was scared and angry with the children. May we please use the restroom? The wife looked at the kids, so that's the kids asking if they can use the restroom. The wife looked at the kids and
Well,
she
it's
finally
not the
saw them.
cat.
Yeah, the cat is totally asking them to go
It's
to the
like
bathroom. What do you mean? Didn't you know that? Cats can ask to go to the bathroom too? Um, the other, and then, okay, the wife looked at the kids and she finally saw them. The children's eyes were as black as the starless universe. She directed them to the bathroom and returned to her husband, who was covering his face with his hand. Did you see their eyes? The husband then showed her his hand full of blood from a nosebleed. It must have been really dry in that day. The power.
yeah, that's definitely not what caused it.
The power suddenly went out and the house turned as dark as the kids' eyes. The wife headed to the restroom and was confronted by the voice of the kids at the end of the hall, uttering, "Our parents are here." Oh, hell no! I'm out! I'm out! I would check out. That poor old lady would have probably had a heart attack. Pitch black, and all you hear is the kids at the end of the wall. Our parents are here. The kids then next exited the house, leaving the door wide open. The wife then noticed that there were 2 men at the end of the driveway. The men were very tall and slender. The wife waved but did not receive the same friendly gesture. The 2 men and children then drove away together in the car. The power then came back on a little later after the kids left. Throughout the next week, weird things happened in the house. 3 or 4 cats went missing, and the 4th had been found dead in the pool of its blood. What the fuck? The husband continued to have nosebleeds and finally went to the doctor, where he was diagnosed with a very aggressive skin cancer. The legend even crossed bodies of water and Latin in the great land of the UK, where in 2014, the Daily Star wrote 3 front page stories about sightings of the black-eyed children in the haunted pub of Staffordshire. That's crazy. The stories made it even all the way over to the UK. But
Yeah, they're pretty much worldwide. So,
but Jesus, just fucking getting skin cancer standing next to them. They're radioactive, man. No wonder their eyes are black.
Yeah.
But that's creepy, though. That's creepy.
there is a book out that is entitled BEK, and it's a bunch of short stories about black-eyed kids.
Oh, damn!
Yep.
I might have
You
to
can
check that out.
believe it's on Amazon.
You can look it up. You can Amazon.
Yeah, I'm looking for it right now.
BEK Books, the 5-ingredient low carb diet. I googled BEK.
Not quite.
No. Okay. The Black Eyed Children, David Weatherly books.
Yeah, David Weatherly has had several books that
Jesus. Paperback, $65 for it. What?
I mean, that's how it is. Books
Hold
are
up.
expensive these
They got
days.
a new They got a new revision for $20. Okay.
yeah,
They got a revision of Paperback for $20. Oh, it's only 10 for the Kindle. Nice.
Yeah, but
Oh,
that
it looks
requires
like-
you to own a Kindle.
It looks like he's got more.
did you see the one from John O'Connor
No.
that has a picture of Slender Man on the cover?
No, I didn't see that one. Hold on. Well, with what the story just said, with the two slim men,
Yeah,
you know, strange industry. No, that's different. Maybe that might be something tied to Slenderman, Black Eyed Children, because there was, I know this might
Well,
be,
I mean,
well, it was. So I was looking at a video on YouTube of these girls that, young teen girls that ended up murdering a friend of theirs, or a friend of theirs.
oh, the one that
Asians.
happened in Wisconsin.
I think it was that one that happened in Wisconsin, and they were claiming the creepypasta Slender Man. And I'm pretty sure, if I remember, that they mentioned something about the Black Eyed Kids, or that
I don't remember any
not
mention
Black
of
Eyed
them.
Kids, but I do remember. Well, I think what it was is they mentioned children.
it's
around
not
them.
Ancient Aliens.
Yeah. And the story on that is that supposedly in these two girls, and it's particularly one of the girls who like brainwashed the other one,
Yup.
believed that Slender Man had a mansion that was in the middle of this state park that was near them. And they had to kill this other friend of theirs so that he would accept them into the mansion.
Yup.
So-
That's the one.
Yep.
So I'm wondering, maybe the kids that are, around the Slenderman story could be some of the Black Eyed Children too,
Possible.
because they're more of a solid figure.
The interesting thing, yeah, the interesting thing about the Slender Man is that, it was originally written, it was a story written on the website Creepypasta.
Yup.
And there are people that have seen a Slender Man type creature throughout the world that have never heard of creepypasta. And there's a thing called a totem. And basically what a totem is when a bunch of people are thinking about one thing, it can give life to this thing, and it's called a totem.
Yup.
And so that was originally what I was thinking of with the whole Slender Man thing, is that, they started getting reports from people that don't have the internet, or, older people that have never been on the internet, people that have never heard of creepypasta, which in this day and age, I don't know how you would be, but so I thought, okay, this is probably a totem. All of these people putting this energy out there thinking about something, created created it. But there is a story about Slender Man that talks about how there has been a Slender Man type character going way back in history, and they were able to show things that were related to this character. And kind of what the show was talking about was that um, this could be like an ancient demon or an ancient god or something that people had lost interest in and was trying to regain its interest. So it implanted itself
Back
in the person who was writing the story. And then when the story got released on Creepypasta, it became a hit right away. And then other people started writing into it, creating more of the lore. And it just, it started getting bigger and bigger and bigger, which would be, so people are now talking about this character again, which is bringing it back out into the daylight, if you will.
Yep, and that actually makes total sense. So that the totem could be kind of like the same way that people were, the first story of like the Black-Eyed Children came out. It could have been probably somebody on like some high as fuck, trip or whatever, saw a kid, thought they saw kids with black eyes, and then they started to see that more often, and then start writing it on the. But it was probably before Creepypasta even came out. But even with all that, I know what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say something. So basically, the more people would talk about that and like would write about it, and it just made, could be that it made it more stronger, or just make it more
the more energy that was put into the thought
of the Black-Eyed Children, just of this whatever it was, and it just came to be more.
And that could be how those are related.
Yup, with the Slenderman and the Black-Eyed Children. But yeah, I found the book from John O'Connor, Black-Eyed Kids, and they do.
Yeah, that's.
It's a really cool picture, creepy but cool. But that they do tie in. I've seen them tie in several times, and in several stories as well. So that would correlate more rather than the shadow figures.
I will be right back.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okie-dokie.
But the next thing, so have you got anything on this, Neil?
I mean, not really. Like I said, I'm just kind of around for this part, so there's not a whole lot that I know about. Well, actually, I don't know anything about the Black-Eyed Children, honestly, but the shadow people I have heard about. I've seen some minor things about them, but for what it's worth, I mean, you never really know where anything gets started, right? Like there are here's the oldest account type stuff like we heard earlier, but there isn't anything that's specifically like, yes, here's a like documented account of what exactly happened to this person and with evidence kind of thing, So
right.
I don't know. I'm here for the story, really.
You're here for the stories this time. None to go against it.
It's entirely possible. It really could be. Like this isn't something that's just like going to Slenderman. Like Slenderman is not real. There's no tentacle-armed demon that
Tentacle arm.
walks around and like vaporizes your sight when he comes up behind you, and like that's just not it's not a thing.
Just
But
ends you, man.
yeah, he just like makes you go insane or whatever
Yeah.
happens. It's just not real. It's not realistic. But like the embodiment of maybe a murdered child or something, and it's just
Mhm.
like, hey, I'm just waiting for my mom so I can pass on or something, but it's got no eyes because that's like how it represents itself. Just as like it's that I might believe like that's entirely possible. Well, maybe not entirely possible, but entirely probable. Like there are some forms of um, supernatural, you know, like there are ghosts and things that we can pick up with science. We can hear what they're saying, and they can move objects around, and that's been more or less proven. So it's entirely possible that these children accounts, the black-eyed children accounts that people have, albeit few and far between, are um, could entirely be true. Like not just like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna add to the pool of lore here. But it's well, I mean, there's a lot of stories where it's just like there's just a couple things that don't add up here, so we're gonna call this fake and just move on.
Right.
But it's like, I don't know if I believe the one about the guy who had an aunt who saw the same kid, because
The
that's
aunt
just
who
like
saw.
that to me. That sounds like he had the experience and he's just like, oh, I have to give this some credence somehow. I have to have some proof or something to make it
Right.
more realistic. Oh yeah, my aunt saw it. She lived here 30 years ago. Who's gonna prove that? Like,
It's like, yeah, dude, my aunt lived here 40 years ago, and she definitely saw some.
yeah, it's
Hey, what's up, Wizard Cat? How's it going? I can finally see chat too. For some reason, I don't know if I can see chat or not, but now I
I
can see
mean,
chat.
I've been able to see chat the whole time, but I'm a watcher, not the streamer. So
Yeah,
there's actually
yeah,
5 people
fair enough.
watching. One of them being me. But hello, Natasha, as well as Wizard Cat.
Oh, I can't see any of that. Well, welcome everybody. If you got 2 cents on freaking black-eyed children, please put your 2 cents in.
Yeah, we'd love to hear it. If anybody has, maybe not an experience, I wouldn't go so far as to say one of you has an experience with it, but
I mean, if you have an experience with it,
you know, yeah. Oh, we happen to be talking about black-eyed children, and you happen to have an experience of it. Oh, that's
right,
crazy.
right.
Of the 5 people watching and the 8 billion people on the world, the odds are not in your favor. Like,
no. But then
I'm not
they're
saying
there,
I'm not
though. The
saying
odds
you
are there,
don't actually have the experience, but like just the odds are not in your favor.
but the odds
You're
are
playing a
there,
1 in
so-
2. You're playing a 1 in like 2 billion game here. Like,
Oh, come on, where's the mouse? Jesus Christ.
Oh, when we start getting like thousands of people watching this live,
yeah.
then it's going to be
One day,
different.
one day.
Yep.
Yeah,
Then it'll be different. Then it's like, a 1 in 1 million chance versus a 1 in 2 billion chance. You've
Right.
had
Yeah.
an experience, so
Yeah, I cannot see the chat updating. See, I only see Wizard Cats, but I don't see anybody else's. Huh. That's weird. Well, hello. But yeah, so yeah, hey, eventually, hopefully we get to the masses here somehow. It's funny, my thing is still saying that we're showing the ancestry.
yours looks like it's frozen. Or must be frozen because we're on that where your video is paused currently of the city skyline
Oh, okay.
there.
Yeah, so it's just on my screen. Hold on. Gotta fix that. There we go. Fixed it, sort of. No, I'm on
Fixed it.
YouTube.
Oh
it's just
no,
stuck.
I'm everywhere.
For some reason, the YouTube video I'm watching is so far behind. that it's
Yeah,
it was
mine is
showing.
continuously slowing down. Mine's at live, but it's like a 5 or 6 second delay still.
Yeah, I gotta change that. So
So
I never streamed on YouTube, guys. This is the first time streaming on YouTube. My Twitch, I have everything ready, but not on. I guess I'm not as prepared. Wizard cat with a munch dinosaur.
the munch
Oh, look,
dinosaur.
it came in now.
I
It
see
is a few
this.
seconds behind. Yeah, I gotta fix that.
Hmm.
I don't know how or where I fixed that, but I gotta fix that. But it came in. I see the chat. I just can't see the emoji yet. I think for the next stream we'll just take to my Twitch channel until I can figure out and just keep uploading to YouTube instead. I think that's gonna be the better option.
Yeah, that'll work.
Cause I have everything prepared for that, not for this. So, but yeah, okay. Anybody got on chat? Anybody watching? Have you guys ever heard of the Black Eyed Children? And if you've had an experience, man, you won in a billion. You know that had. Or
Oh man, me, pick me.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
watching.
Go, yeah, go.
Yeah.
The other thing is shadow people, shadow figures. Have you guys had any experience with that yourself?
Shadow
that
people.
question's for everyone.
Those guys. I'm
Well,
more likely
I
to have
have.
had one of those.
A shadow
But
people.
I don't think so.
Yes.
We'll go on.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, if you got
He's
some, let me
like-
know. We're like, we just
He's like,
all went
but I
quiet."
answered the question. It's like,
Give me just a second.
Chat, how are you guys doing today? Wizard Cat, thank you for joining us, and Natasha as well, or Tasha. She made it.
Tasha.
This is
Tasha.
background. Yeah, this is background. for her, I
Natasha.
guess. Yeah.
I do not know who this person is, but apparently you do.
Yeah. They're cool.
Okie dokie. I'll believe you.
Yeah, so I'm gonna look up, so Black Eyed Children they could it possibly exist.
Streaming for an hour
believe-
already.
I myself believe that they could exist because of all the stories and stuff. So in the meantime, there is a short video on Shadow People that I will go ahead and play for you guys. While Beltane is on hold for a second there.
Yeah, I'm ready if you want to go
Oh,
ahead
yeah.
and play it.
All right, here we go.
October 28th, 2016. Researcher
I
Michelle
wonder what
LeBaron
episode this
and
is.
a group of colleagues are investigating reports of a shadow-like entity.
I
at a
can't
historic
hear
saloon
anything
called
on this,
the
by the
Washoe
way.
Club.
Okay, hold on.
I can hear it just fine. So it must be on your end.
Particular room,
Yeah,
and
probably.
between her and
I was
her
gonna say,
friend, this
yeah.
large shadow loomed up. She described it as about 6'5", 6'6" in height, but again, very, very dark.
Yeah,
in
it's just
nature.
real
There was
quiet
no
on my
detail.
end.
At one point, she thought it had completely engulfed her friend, and they ended up screaming and running out of the room.
Oh, hold on. I put it up a little louder right when it just went off, man. Ancient aliens in disguise.
Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Ancient alien.
Let's see here.
I was gonna say you may have to replay that just so that
Yeah.
so that he can hear. it.
Virginia City, Nevada. October 28th,
Really, that says
2016.
Bridgeport, Connecticut, 1953.
Researcher Michelle LeBaron and a group of colleagues are investigating reports of a shadow-like entity at a historic saloon called the Washoe Club.
Yo,
She and
the
another
Washoe
woman
Club
ventured
has
into
a
one
lot
particular
of-
room, and between her and her friend, this large shadow loomed up. She described it as about 6'5", 6'6" in height, but again, very, very dark in nature, so there was no detail. At one point, she thought it had completely engulfed her friend, and they ended up screaming and running out of the room.
Oh, hell no, says Wizard Cat.
Oh,
So-
I was like,
The Palmer House.
it's like I
in
watched the whole
Stockton-
video. I didn't have any reason to say that to the video. It's like,
Yeah.
What were you saying?
Okay, my experience happened at the Palmer House in Sauk Center, Minnesota. It was listed a couple of years ago as the most haunted location in Minnesota. And in the basement of the Palmer House, the first time I was there, we could see shadow people in the background moving around. And it was dark down there, except we had a little bit of light with us.
Mm-hmm.
And these things were so dark that
They made the dark
the
look dark.
background was dark, but we could see them because they were darker than the background was.
Jesus. And it wasn't like
It
it wasn't like your light making any shadows, because you said you barely had any light.
Yeah, and our shadows would have been behind us.
Right.
So, and they were 2D, they're not 3D type figures. So
Oh,
it's,
they were flat looking.
yes.
Oh, interesting. So I found something that says a brief history of the shadow people that I want to show, but I also found a story on, not a story, but like a report on it. Somebody was pointing, they were saying that the first time they heard about shadow people was when they were I was writing a travel feature about haunted places in New Hope, Pennsylvania, and they came across a story of a house in which a female resident. Yes, hello, I'm here. Your background noise for me. Oh, okay. Well, welcome, Natasha. And
Hello.
glad. If you got anything to say about certain things or shadow people experience, let me know, because we all have had it one way or another, whether it's in your peripheral or like Beltane was face to face. But they were reporting on a haunted place for New Hope, Pennsylvania. The female resident claimed to have seen dark shadows shaped like humans. Not only that they were aggressive. And I have heard that some shadow figures or people can get aggressive. This report diverged from the typical ghost sightings that they've heard before. Oh, my bad. They sometimes knock things over and slam doors, as aggressive they can get. Almost like poltergeist activities. That, so almost poltergeist-ish activity. Which is wild. I gotta put my leg up for this here. But anyways, they were, and then when they met the person, Rosemary Ellen Gullion?
It's Guiley.
Guiley,
Yeah.
one of the leading experts on the paranormal.
one of those.
Yeah, one of those. One of those names. They met them, and she told the writer she was working on a book that identified them as a category of creature called Jinn. Not Jinn with a G, but Jinn with a D.
Yeah.
DJINN. Jin.
Yep. And then we knew them as genies, but that's a limited portrait. In fact, the awareness of jinns in Western cultures are pretty spare.
Yeah, we're not big believers in that kind of stuff here.
No, I definitely not on that one.
Unless you are from the Middle East.
Yup.
The jinn are very prevalent in the Quran.
Yup. So it's oops. My laptop just tapped my mic. So it's kind of funny that this person is putting in shadow figures as jinns as well. Not much for
Yeah,
yeah.
she's a very well-known, I should say formally well-known. I believe she passed away a couple of years ago.
Yeah, this was posted back in July of 2013. So
Yeah. One of the things that Rosemary Ann Guiley is known for is her work on the Beast of Bray Road, which is something from Wisconsin
I was
too.
gonna say I heard that name before.
Yeah, the Beast of Bray Road is, I believe, one of the dog men. That
I
is,
think that's what it falls under. Yeah.
yep, that's pretty famous for over there. But that's a whole nother category we shouldn't really fall
Go
into.
yeah.
So
Well, there was one more thing here that they were saying because they asked her, "You're known for the books about angel, demons, vampires, witches, and the likes. What drew you to jinns?" There were two major avenues, both involving shadow people, dark and menacing humanoids that she's been researching. And then she noticed that many cases persist. Negative hauntings involved shadow people, so she began probing for their true identity. She discovered that many shadow people experience her also ET experiences. All right, we're moving on because that's just too funny there. Going back. Okay, yeah, let's watch this quick video here, and we're gonna avoid ET here.
It's a small comfort that we're not alone in our fear of the dark or even of our own shadows. Wherever we go, a small bit of darkness follows us. Whether it's a natural effect of light or something more sinister remains uncertain. This October, on Friday the 13th, from an executive producer of The Walking Dead and an executive producer, Lore. Until then,
So
we
we're
offer
watching a
you
movie ad.
The worlds of shadow and light can be very frightening for children.
God, I thought it was.
I'm Dr. Michelle Golland, and I'm a clinical psychologist. We all have a shadow. We have dark parts, we have aggression, we have impulses that can hurt people.
Carl Jung referred to the shadow as the darker parts of ourselves, the part we keep safely
So, shadow people are just dark, bad people?
well, I think you need to keep watching this to
hidden by
really-
our conscious mind. But for some, the shadow is an altogether real embodiment of evil, one that goes by many names.
I think when we talk about shadow and shadow people, we're inherently talking about psychology and our soul. A spiritual sense that there is something beyond the physical.
An obsession with the shadow realm is what fueled the depraved desires of 15th century nobleman Gilles de Rais, who lured little children to an unthinkable doom behind the walls of his castle in the French countryside. An avowed fan of de Rais' perverted handiwork, Edward Paynell, the Beast of Jersey, terrorized the Isle of Wight from the early 1960s until his capture in 1971. Donning a rubber mask, Paynell broke into homes to attack 13 women and children as they lay innocently sleeping. It is the echoes of haunting stories like these that inspired the deadly myth of the Slender Man, a tall figure who is said to reach through computers to beckon his victims out of the safety of their homes and into the darkness of the woods.
It's a vanishing story. And who hasn't wanted to vanish? But then also, how scary if you're taken.
His choice of attire is appropriately the dark suit and tie favored by undertakers, though unlike his contemporaries, to look into his face is to stare into a pale, featureless void that drives survivors to the brink of insanity. But can these shadow people really be the physical embodiment of evil from the world beyond? Or are they just a story we tell ourselves to cope with the darkness that lives within us all?
We develop shadows from the time we're born, and it's a defense system. The shadow people are the embodiment of these defenses that we have.
Our innermost fears and twisted curiosities, it seems, will arrive at one of two conclusions. We are the leery prey of the shadows, or we stalk the prey with them.
So that was just a little thing on shadow people, which wasn't really about shadow people.
Yeah, that
It
was
was more
kind of
about
weird.
Slenderman than anything.
I was really well. That's where what I found interesting is that led us back to Slenderman rather than lead us towards more shadow people. And I've been looking on things about shadow figures and stuff. I know there's a lot of stuff out there, but I must not be looking in the right places, cause boy, I'm not finding lick of shadow figure people, except here in Wikipedia. Shadow people, also known as shadow figures, or black mass, is the precipitation of patch of shadow as a living spaces, humanoid figures, sometimes interpreted as presence of a spirit or entity by believers in the paranormal or supernatural. By believers, I'm sorry, believers. Trying to call us sketch the. Can't think of the word. I need to
Sketchy.
get my calling
Skeptical.
us skepticals. Edibles. I mean, what?
Yeah. Hey man,
That's
same
how
thing
you
at this
get to
point.
see shadow people with the edibles.
Oh yeah. You'll see them real quick. That's for sure. All right. I saw something else, but so if we look at this in the paranormal sense, not the scientific sense, which a lot of actually, what I was gonna bring into this with the scientific part is, so schizophrenics, they see things and hear things and talk like, I know that's like a disease, or not a disease. Well, it's, I guess you can call it a disease because it's a harmful disease. So I saw something on this just a second ago. So my thing is, how? When would it be? When do you call it as? Oh, it's schizophrenic, or your imagination, or no, it's a real thing and it's a paranormal thing, like, because that's my question, because I know with schizophrenia is a lot more different because there's more into it
Well,
than just that.
schizophrenia is a mental condition, and there can be many different things that can happen to a schizophrenic. Uh, some of them will hear things, some of them will see things.
Mm,
So, it's varied. It's
it
like,
very varied,
it's
yeah.
kind of like what they say about an autistic. If you've met one autistic, you've met one autistic. Um, so it's not like every single schizophrenic has the exact same things going on. I just posted in the Paranormal Talk a website called shadowpeople.org
I just found
that
it.
has a whole bunch of information on it. So,
All right, let me pull this up real quick. My screen's gonna go weird, guys that are watching. Give me a minute.
I mean, you could just put it on like a BRB screen for a second.
I don't have the BRB screen set up. It's just a black screen.
That's fine. It's better than letting everybody view your completely broken up Discord channel.
Hey, it works. All right, it works. Actually, I wanted to so I can read it on my laptop, but there it is. I have it up. Actually, Belton, do you want to do some reading?
Not really.
That's a lot of reading.
Got him.
All right. Let's
Well,
see.
there's short stories, long stories, ghost stories.
Definitely look at some of the short stories that people. Actually, the official Shadow People archive. You're gonna have to look that up here. Oh, look! Click a story caught on camera. Are you guys seeing this on the Discord part of it? Or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
My brother
yeah.
found this picture on his phone. This is the room, his door. This is
Sure,
the room, his
etc.
door, his chair, etc. For some reason, I read chair twice there. But he has no memory of taking this picture. If it freaks the both of us out, we have no idea what it could be. I asked him what he thought it was, and he said a shadow person. He said he has come into contact with shadow people. He has seen them face to face. We are a family of empaths. So could that have something to do with it? Is it because we can sense things other than others can't? Is it because we can see and hear things that others can't? And are we vulnerable because we're empaths? Wow. So it looks like this was a thing sent to somebody, but that's a pretty compelling picture there. What do you guys think of that? Can you see the picture?
Yeah, it looks kind of like a shadow of a head on the door.
Yeah, almost, and it's almost looks like the height of a kid.
To me, it looks like someone's sitting in the chair leaning forward.
Oh yeah, like they probably have like their hands in their head or something.
I almost thought it was a screenshot from Harry Potter for a second. So
Close. That's actually really interesting. Let's go back one screen. I'm trying to do all this on my knee. Alright, I found something here. Also, shadow people, a paranormal phenomenon of shadow person, shadow men seen just out of sight in the blink of an eye, or lurking in the corner of the room. Are you becoming increasingly intense area of study for many, precisely because we don't quite know what these shadow beings are. So I think it was like 2 episodes ago that we did, or last episode, we talked about something, seeing things in our peripheral.
Yeah.
Yep. I know we touched a little bit on shadow people that day because of that, because I was saying that before coming in, like recently. Okay. Well, that I had saw something and I felt like somebody was there watching, but there was nobody there. But I like just in the peripheral kind of thing. So yeah, if you see something move on your peripheral, it could have been a shadow person, could have been just somebody walking past you. But you were saying that seeing things in a peripheral is like seeing things in like the other world. I think it was what you were saying, like into that other dimension.
Yeah. Well, kind of the theory is that our dimension is layered on top of several other dimensions.
Almost
and
like string theory.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what string theory is. But the veil between our world and the world of the dead, especially in 2 times of the year, it would be October, the end of October and the beginning of May, 6 months apart, is supposedly the times when the veils are the thinnest. But you know, like if you're sitting in a room and you're working on a computer, playing a game or something, and you suddenly see movement in your peripheral, and then you look, you look and there's nothing there. But if you look back, you might be able to see it again, or you'll see it in a different location. Supposedly that's because that peripheral allows us to see outside of our dimension, if you will. And then when you look at it straight on, you don't see it because your straight on vision is like 3D here. There's a heck of a lot more to that, but we don't have the time
Yeah, it's
to
getting
go
No, yeah,
to
not really.
go out.
there.
So
So I'm thinking this would be Shadow People Part 2. So that
Yeah.
we can elaborate a little more on that part. Just one more thing. So have you guys had any experience with the Shadow People or stuff like that? Just like kind of end things with some stories and stuff. And I'm gonna go on Reddit too. I know Reddit will get a ton of sweet stories on there. I just gotta look some.
the other thing about shadow people that's kind of interesting is they're all male.
Oh,
And
really?
then there is, and then there is one character they call the Hat Man. And the Hat Man usually has like a fedora on.
Like that.
And
picture?
yes, actually, that would be the Hat Man if that was an actual shadow person.
Right.
Um,
Just a picture of somebody's silhouette.
yes. I have never seen the Shadow Man. I don't know anybody who actually has seen the Shadow Man, but I've heard stories about it. Some talk about him being, this intensely dark, foreboding character. And then other people have talked about that he just watches what's going on, so different people have had different experiences with him, just like different people have had different experiences with shadow people. So there is a town here in Minnesota that one of the cemeteries, which is actually located in the town, supposedly has a lot of shadow figures in it. I used to live by this town, and I went over there with the first ghost hunting group that I was part of, and we never saw anything. Members of that group had claimed that, they were there and they saw all these shadow figures and all of this stuff, but we were there for like 6 hours and never saw anything.
So a lot of it could be baloney.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
mean,
What about you, Neil? Have you ever had some sort of experience like that?
with the
Mr.
Shadow
Skeptical
Man, or
Guy?
like just
No,
in
just in
general? Not really. I mean, you guys know my stance on this kind of stuff, but for those who don't, I'm very much I wouldn't even go so far as to say an agnostic anymore. There's definitely something out there that,
Changing his ways.
like, well, it's never really been agnostic, because agnostic is like, I believe in a higher power, and that's kind of the long and short of it. That's the whole conversation for that. But there's a lot more factors than just that, It's not like just like, oh, it's just God, or it's just Allah, or it's just Buddha, or whatever. It's like there's a lot of forces out in everywhere, and
In
it
the
depends
universe.
on how you're perceiving it, I guess. For me, no, I've never had any experiences with black-eyed children or Slender Man, or anything like that we've talked about tonight. But
You wouldn't be here
I
if you didn't
have.
experience the Slender Man.
Well, I mean, yeah, you never know. Maybe I am Slenderman.
Oh.
Like,
Well, you are
Found him.
got
quite
him.
skinny. You're just not
Yeah.
very tall.
I've
Yeah,
been
you're
been
missing-
plotting. I've been plotting the whole time. Take you
he's
guys
missing
down.
part of that.
But yeah. So on my end, it's not just like, oh yeah, these are real, or oh yeah, these are fake, or we've only seen ghosts before, so only ghosts are real, stuff like that. It's like clearly this is either a huge scandal of like, like 100 years of people faking this or whatever it was, or something happened to somebody and they made it into a real thing, albeit maybe just a legend, but that doesn't mean it's not false. So
They took some of the good shit, and then that's
yeah.
Somebody once told me that there's a little bit of truth in every lie.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
Oh yeah.
So,
100%. I believe that.
that's kind of the way I see it, is that there is every story, there's a little bit of truth in there. But what that truth is what we have to figure out.
Right. Well, and also considering that these were in the 80s, 60s, and some of them go back thousands of years, that after a while the stories get, they get a little thrown off the cliff there.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that thing you would do as a kid where you'd have a whole bunch of people in a circle and somebody would say something to the person next to them, and that person just repeated to the next person. And by the time it goes all the way around the circle, it's a totally different story.
Yep.
Yeah. We know the game. I cannot remember the name of it for the life of me.
I can't think of the name either. But or it's like you put somebody, like, paper on somebody's back, and you line them up.
Yeah.
And then one person starts to draw, and then the next person has to kind of keep going, and then the last person is like trying to figure out what it is. And when you get
this dude's making a flower, and the first guy made a fish.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
like.
So I've heard of that. I just can't remember the name of the game that you're talking about.
I think they called it Pass It Along at one point, but
Pass It Along?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. It's like
think it was
verbal
like
pass it on,
Whisper or
basically.
something, or even a Whisper
Yeah,
or
it's
something.
the whisper game, or whatever it's
It
called.
was
So
some-
it doesn't have a real name. It's just like whatever you end up calling it. So
It's the Whisper game. Somebody ends up whispering the wrong thing at the end.
what was our previous stream about? Our previous podcast. Because I know the first one was about like our faiths and how that interacts with how we view
Paranormal and supernatural stuff.
paranormal. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
But
the
I
second
don't
one,
honestly remember what the second one was.
the second one was about. It wasn't about the black-eyed children, but we did talk about a little bit of that when that was the last episode that I mentioned with the peripheral stuff and stuff like that, because it was like I was going into the room and then I was past the staircase, and like in the corner of my eye I saw like a figure up in the corner of the staircase, and I freaked out a second. Like my brain was racking through, like I couldn't tell what it was, but I know it was see, and you mentioning that shadow figures are only men, that wasn't a shadow figure, because that whatever I felt was like a feminine presence, and it was most definitely not my sister-in-law coming down the stairs. I can guarantee you that. So
Although she is as sneaky.
she is, but no, it was definitely not her. And actually, talking about seeing things peripheral or stuff like that. During the podcast, I did get to see something move behind me, and it wasn't my wife or kid because they were getting ready to go to bed. But I did see some move on my screen though, and so it could have been just me moving, could have been something else. I have no idea. And then earlier, I'm almost 100% sure it was. This is debunked. Behind me, I have a bookshelf, and on the very top of the bookshelf is one of my kids' toy, and it's like a steering wheel, and it honks and it makes noise. And all of a sudden, I hear the noise.
I remember the toy.
I'm like, where's this coming from? And then all of a sudden it's quiet again. I'm like, okay, must have, you know, he must have had a toy in here that just activated, you know, I moved or something. And then all of a sudden it goes off again. And I'm like, that's not supposed to go off that often. And then it keeps going off. I get up and I'm looking for the noise. And then I see the toy go off. I was like, I go and grab it, shake it, think it's like a mouse or something up there. Yeah, I know. And then it's just my kid on the other side of the wall jumping on his crib. Because his crib is right against that wall. And like that wall is so thin. Even though my office is soundproof. I don't know how they don't hear me scream when I'm playing a horror game or something. But like, it's so thin that it moved. And his jumping on the crib was making it go off. And in my head, I'm like, I'm either being haunted or there's a giant ass mouse walking on that toy. So yeah, and that was all before the podcast too, before they left. So, but any chat, anybody? I guess we'll leave this for next podcast. But if you've had any experience with Shadow Figure, I guess next episode we'll have more Shadow Figure stuff because there's a lot more on that, and I'll probably not touch back on Black Eyed Children because we want to move on.
We generally just do the one episode.
Yeah,
so.
But since there's a lot of Shadow Figure and we haven't finished a lot talking on Shadow Figures, that'll move on a little bit into our next episode. So if you guys have any stories or you know of anybody that has, shoot me a message on Discord, or if you know me in person, shoot me wherever you know, a message wherever you know me. If not Reddit, I gotta make a Reddit for us so that people can post a story on there too, and I gotta get that rolling. So, but yeah, I gotta get that rolling. A couple things, but all right, guys, time to say goodbye and good night.
Goodbye and good night. Can we leave now?
Later,
Yeah.
everyone.
He's like,
"All right,
I wasn't looking at the stream at that point, so I just imagine you just like staring down at my camera like, how dare you? It's like,
but you have to say goodbye first. But I guess we're just gonna all say adios.
we're just gonna
together,
leave.
and we're gonna be out. Till next time, guys. See ya.